Hey there, my gorgeous friends on the internet. In today's episode, I'm gonna show you a cool small trick that's gonna 2 or 3x your design speed so you can create a beautiful website like this in under 10 minutes. That sounds very catchy for a title, so I'm gonna stick with that. Okay, so whether you're using Figma or Adobe XD, I always say it's a good thing to kind of draw out your website and build it out in one of these softwares beforehand, rather than trying to kind of imagine how the website looks like whilst you're building it out. And that's another tip to improve, and not improve, but to speed up your development process as well. So this is a super simple website right here, but I'm gonna show you a little design system that you can use to speed that up. Okay, let's stop talking, let's start making stuff. So again, whether it's Adobe XD, this is the Adobe XD, or Figma, it's almost gonna be identical. So one thing is fonts and text, how your text looks on a website. So what I like to do is start off, so this is a header, so this can be like a H2 here. So I'm gonna say H2, H3, and a paragraph. Okay, I just have a couple. So what I like to do is go on each one and find the font that I really like. So pick a font. If you like it, perfect, add it to all of them, and then add the weight to it. So I did a bold on this one. On the H2, H3, H, and let me name this paragraph, I used medium, okay? And a trick I like to use is to increment my fonts by a value of 8 or 16. So just to keep it consistent with the rems, right? So 16 pixels is 1 rem, okay? So my paragraph here, if I go to 16, that's kind of the base value, right? So if I want to make it bigger, I'm gonna increment it either by half a rem or 1 rem. So 24 or 32, okay? And I just keep that logic to all of my texts, okay? So if I increase in size, I'm gonna do it either by 8 or 16. So we have 24 here, 32, 40, and 48, all right? So by half a rem. Rather than picking random values, it's gonna make it look very weird and inconsistent. So if I go here 48, and let's say I pick 35 for this one, and I'll pick 22 for this one, and 16 for this one, okay? It's not incrementing equally, so it's gonna look weird and inconsistent on your websites, okay? So once you have that, what you can do is just click on it and go here to character style to assets. So once you add a character styles to assets, it's going to add it up there. So I'm going to do it to all of them. Add character styles to assets, add character styles to assets, like that. We have all of them here. We can rename them if I want. So I can call this paragraph, misspelled that, but you can do it to all of them. So now when you're building out your website, you can easily just make a header by typing it out. So let's say I'm making a meditation app like the other one there. So welcome to Aura. Okay, like that. And now I can just simply go up here and click it, and boom, I am finished. So it saves up a bunch of time. It's super easy once you set it up. Yeah, and it's just cool. If you don't see this tab here, make sure you to go over here to the bottom left side and toggle between the layers tab and your assets tab. Okay, so it's down here. Okay, cool. So now that we have that set up, we can do the same thing with colors. So I'm just gonna drag out a couple of squares here, one, and I can pick out colors that I wanna use for my website. So for example, for this, I picked out this grayish color, which I do wanna save. I never pick out fully black, just black color for my texts, because the contrast is too high between the white and the dark. So I picked out this 4F, 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 and I want to make sure I use it consistently and everywhere on my website. So what I can do is just pick out that color like that, or I can just go here. I don't even need to do it on this rectangle, actually. I have a big sneeze coming up, sorry. Oh my gosh, okay, thank you. So same thing like we did with the character styles, we can do it with the colors. So add color to asset, and that's gonna show up here. So again, I can rename it if I want to. I can use main text color. And now every time I make a paragraph, I can add it right there. Okay, let's pick out a nice color for like buttons as well. So maybe we can get this purplish look here. So again, I can just either do a little rectangle here. So that's a gradient. You can also save gradients if you want to. But for now, I'm just gonna pick out this purple color. Okay, so click on that and then right click and add color to assets, and we are done. So it's safe there. Perfect. I'm going to remove this gray just like that. Okay, cool. So now when we make a button, we can, alarm goes off. We can use it on all of our buttons. Okay, so that's cool. So we have that, now what about components? Maybe I don't want to keep making buttons over and over again. I want to have them just easily drag and drop, or maybe I want the card system like this, right? I want to just drag and drop it on my website, and if I want to resize them a little bit, I can just do it in one easy click. So let's start off with a button, because I think that's a great example. So here's how you can make a component. Now, our little Shiba is starting to cry, so everything is just going fantastic. Okay, so let's call this, let me open the door. Let's make a button. So I'm gonna call this buy now. Okay, like that. So I can make it small just by clicking on the paragraph. Let's see, that's the size I want it to be. And then, let's see, is that too big? Did I do 24? Maybe for the paragraph, we could have went down to 16. So I'm just gonna do 16 on this for now, like that. Okay, so we have our buy now, and what I'm gonna do is just drag out a little rectangle here in the back, and a cool trick that you can use. So let me just go to the layers here. So we have our buy now, we have our rectangle, and I'm gonna color the rectangle, just going back to the assets, to this purple. Cool, so now I'm gonna move the buy now button above it, like that. Yep, drag it to the top, and I'm gonna change the color to white to have a little bit of contrast. Now, if I move this, it's gonna snap in the middle, so until you have that crosshair, and then I'm gonna remove the border here. Maybe we can add a little border radius if you want to. You can do that here if you want to. I'm gonna leave it like this for now. So one cool trick that I like to do is take these two and group them together. So one thing now is if I have them like this, it's weird because if I copy paste this over and I add more text to it, it's gonna flow out like that, which is not nice. And even if let me duplicate this again, maybe I want to resize this and add more padding to it. Well, look what's gonna happen. I have to do it like that and then take this and move it to the center, right? It's a bit of a faff. So what you can do is take this and group it together. So Control G and group. So now Adobe XD has this responsive resize, which is really cool. So if I drag it, it's gonna stay in the center. So that's really cool. And you can modify this behavior if you go on the text. So if you double click and go in the text, you can change it to manual if you want. And you have a couple more options here. So maybe I want to stick it to the left side of it. Throw dry. You can enable that. So now when I resize it, it's always going to be stuck there. And same goes for the other side. But for now, auto resize usually does a really good job. So in this case, it does. Now, one problem is when we add more stuff here. So if I do that, it's going to flow out like that, right? So that's a big problem. So what I generally like to do is, oh, the dog wants to jump up. Okay, come up. Come up. What I like to do is go to the rectangle. So I have this grouped up and make it the size of the text. Just having a war here with my dog. Just like that. Okay. Just size it down to the text. And then now, since this is grouped up, you have the ability on the group here to add padding. So I'm going to click here, add padding, and you can do a fixed value like 20. Like that, or optionally, if you click on this button, you can pick for the top, left, right, and bottom. So I can have 20 on top. I can go here and do 40 on the left and right. So 40 like that. Cool. So now that I have this, if I create a duplicate of it like that, And if I add more text to it, well, look, it's going to resize to it. Okay, so now that we have this button, we can finally make it into a component. So take this grouped up button thing here. Oh, and I should, yeah, okay, never mind. Right click and just make a component, okay? And that's all you have to do. So now when you go here to your assets, it's gonna show up here and we can rename it to button. Awesome. So I can get rid of it now. I don't need to have it there. And I can just drag in buttons like that. Easy peasy. Now, one thing I want to show you is if I right click here and do edit main component, it's going to pop up another button outside of your artboard here. And this is kind of like the OG button. Basically, any modifications you make to this button is going to affect the children of it. Okay, so basically if I go here and let's go and I'm gonna double click inside here. Let me just grab this. Where is it in the layers here? So button, I'm gonna grab the rectangle of it and just scale it out like that. And look at that, it's gonna affect the children of it like that. Or maybe I wanna change the color of it. See, it affects all of the children. All right, so that's your main instance of a component. It affects all the other ones. Now the cool part is, let's say you finish your design, but you're unhappy with the colors of your website. You can always just go over to the main component here and modify the color or modify the font or whatever it might be. But the advantage of it is you can go over to the children, so the copies of it, and you can still do modifications to them. So maybe this button is disabled, so you can do that. All right. So you can still make changes to each individual ones without affecting the whole group. And then you have the main one, which affects all of them. So that's how you make a little button. Now let's make a card system because I want to show you two more cool things. So we have this image here. I'm just going to copy it over. All right. So it's a little avatar. And then we have going here. So I'm going to just drag it out here. And I want to make a little card system. So again, the way I like to work with it is I just get all the elements on my page. So in this case, we have our image. I have this text and a paragraph, which I'm going to, again, just copy over really quickly. So our page, I'm going to bring it here. All right. Then we have a little paragraph, which I'm going to copy over here. And I have this price with the button. And now since this is a component, I could technically just drag it in here and be done with it. But since I have it made here, I'm just going to copy and drag it here. Now, I don't want to worry about sizing the space in between these elements now, because I'm going to show you a cool way how to achieve all of that easily. So I'm not going to bother here with like positioning it and sizing it. So just have all your elements on the page. And then I'm going to add a little background to this. So I'm going to drag out a rectangle like that and get rid of the border. I'm going to add a fill to it so you can see. I'm going to rename this to BG and just drag it right below all my content. So the way I like to do it is, again, I like to add the padding afterwards. So I basically just resize my content, the background to the size of the content. So I'm going to do this like that, tip, 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 like that, until it snaps, bring it down, and done. Okay, so I'm gonna change this to a fill of white for now, and I'm just gonna add a border for now, like that, to the background. Okay, cool, just so you can see where the content is. I'm gonna make this a bit thicker. Let's do 3. Okay, so now that we have all of this, what I'm gonna do is grab everything, and I'm gonna hit Control G. So now everything is grouped up. I'm gonna name this card like that. Okay. So now that everything is grouped up, I can enable the padding here, and again do the same thing and just add additional padding here. So I'm gonna do 30. I'm gonna do 30 on the bottom, and we're gonna do 50 and 50 on the sides. Perfect. Maybe a bit taller here. So maybe 50 on the top, 50 on the top, and less on the left and right. We'll do 30 here and 30 here. Okay, so there we go. So that's how it looks like. Cool. So I'm going to get rid of this border, and rather than border, I'm going to add a box shadow to it. So let's open up the card, go to the BG, remove the... okay, there we go. Border is removed, and just add a drop shadow to this BG. Now to get a nice one, generally what you want to do is add a big blur. So I'm going to do 30 or 40, like that, and then just push it out. So that's how it looks like now, which is quite nice. But what I want to do is push it a bit to the right and to the bottom, just to add a bit more dimension, because now the box shadow is quite equal from corner to corner. So just to make it look a bit different, add 6 and 6 to each side, just like that. Cool. So look at that. We have a nice shadow going on there. Now, also one more thing is the intensity of it. So you want to make sure to keep it between 10 and 20. I wouldn't go high because it looks quite wacky. All right, so let's keep it low like that. And finally, just add a wee border radius to this one. Again, keep it consistent, do it in 8s. So I'll do 16 here. And that's that. So now that we have that, we have our padding all figured out on the outside. What about the inside, the spacing in between the elements in here? Well, what we can do is just enable the stack on the card. So once we click the stack, this enables us to give spacing in between the elements, but also reposition our elements any way we want in the card. So all I have to do is double click in on one of these elements, and look at that, we're gonna get a highlight of the spacing here. So 42 there, 42 and 24. So I can easily just go in here and drag and pick out a specific padding for this. So again, I want to keep it consistent in 8s. So I'm going to do 24 there. We're going to bring this down to something like 32. And then here we can do 48. Okay, and there we go. That's how simple that is. And again, if I want to put the title on the top, I can just grab it holding shift and boop, just position it like that. Or I can grab the paragraph only and just move this up if I want, like that. So it's very easy to give spacing and reorganize everything after you have this stack enabled. And there we go, that's that. So finally, before we make this a component, let's see how it resizes. So if I grab the corner here and drag it, as you can see by default, this responsive resize does a really good job. So we don't really have to worry almost at all about it. But you might have a case where you have an image that does this. Let me show you, that stretches out like that. Then you can just head to the image and go over to manual and make sure to turn on fix width, and that's gonna stop that issue. And again, make sure you have the constraints disabled, because if you have right or left enabled there, then when you resize, it's always gonna stick to the right, okay? So if you have it disabled on each side, then it's gonna just center like that. So there we go, look, and it even adds height when the paragraph resizes, so it's really good. All right, and that's it. So now we can finally make it into components. So right click, make component, and then you have access to it right here. So again, the cool part is now I can just drag this off screen or keep it in here, and I can drag in multiple instances of this component like that. That's cool. And grab these three. If I ever want to make any changes to these, like resizing them, so I want to make it a bit wider like that, everything kind of works on its own. Or maybe I want to make a bunch of them at the same time. So what you can do is actually enable this repeat grid up here and then just drag it out like that. And then you can do the same thing vertically. And kind of like with the stack, you can add the spacing as well here. So if I want more space like that, or between the columns, I can just increase that and position it up like that. So it just makes it super quick to design websites. Okay, so that's kind of it. Now, if you look in the layers, you still have it all grouped up like that. So if you want to access each individual piece here, you can just hit ungroup grid, and that's going to give you all the cards on their own. So there you go. So that's cool. Okay. One last thing I want to show you is once you make a component, you can also add states to them. So here, as you can see, we have a default state, but if I click on plus here, so I need to go to the main one. If I add a plus here, I can add either a hover state or a toggle state. Let me just do a hover state because it's very quick and easy. Hover state, all right, make sure you're on it, and then you can make changes to the elements here. So maybe I want to bring down the opacity on the button. This is just a quick example. So now if I go back here to the component, so just click on the main component, if I toggle between the default state and hover state, as you can see, we made the changes to it. So once I hit the play button, look at that, when I hover over it, okay, let's see why is it not doing it. Hit play. Ah, there we go. Once I hover over it, it does a nice fade out. Okay, so it auto animates to it. All right, so that's gonna be it. That's how you make a quick little design system here with assets to improve the speed of your websites. Thank you so much for watching. We are just on about to get a design course started here, which we're really excited about because it's really fun. We both really enjoy artistic stuff anyway. So hope you guys are looking forward to it. Check out developedbyed.com for some, I got stuck. I cannot speak anymore. For some programming courses. And yeah, I'm going to end it now because I need water. All right. Bye-bye.